And my wife and I reached out to Melba Matson about 2 years ago, and over about a 9-month period, we were able to build trust with her to take on this project. Her and her husband had worked on it for many decades, and they wanted to preserve it and keep it open for the public. They had it as a museum, and we are now turning it into an Airbnb short-term rental, so you could actually stay in the home that Wyatt Earp was born in. The house was built in 1841, and if you don't know who Wyatt Earp is, he was a lawman and an outlaw, and he has an international following. There's a lot of interest in Wyatt Earp. As we've been working on this project, we've had a lot of people, even from out of state, that have stopped by asking us questions, what's going on, when it'll be available. So we're here to answer those questions. This is available on Airbnb now. You can book it. The booking starts July 1st of 2024. We've already received one booking, and I believe one other person of interest that's looking into it, but very excited about it. So we will have this property ready by July 1st, 2024 for people to start staying there. So whether you're looking for a place in Monmouth and the hotels are filled up and you want to stay, that's fine. If you have interest in Wyatt Earp and you want to stay for that reason, even better.
So July 1st, you've got a lot of work to do before then. Just to make sure it's ready. How's the process of the renovations been going?
We have not spent a lot of time on the interior yet. We put a new roof on last year, and this January is when a lot of work will be done. So we've got a team of 7 that will start the interior renovations in 2 weeks. And the heating and cooling will start next week for a furnace and AC unit. Independent heating and cooling here in Monmouth will be doing that work. We're going to be hiring local contractors, and then we also have a team of contractors that will be working alongside of them.
It's been tricky because we have to try to figure out ways to make updates so the house will be comfortable, but still keep it in the history and keep it aesthetically appealing at the same time. So that takes a little extra work and extra time.
Yeah, and keeping it at a historical site for Monmouth. There's a lot of cool little history in Monmouth, and this house is going to be one of it. So making sure to keep it true to the history.
Yes, that's
Definitely.
very important.
That's very important to us, very important to the Matson family that we took this project on. They, like I said, they'd worked on it for decades, and it was very important to them as well.
So how are you keeping that? Like, where are you getting the information so we know that everything that you are portraying to us is correct?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when we tore off the roof, the original shingles were still on the roof on the second story, the 2-story part of the building, and they were cedar shake shingles. We weren't sure what we were going to do as far as putting the roof back on. We were going back and forth with metal and cedar shake. Once we saw that, we obviously knew what the answer was, and we were going to put cedar shake back on, even though that it cost 10 times the money of normal roofing materials. So like an asphalt shingle right now, you can buy the materials for like $110 a square, and the cedar shingles, they were $1,000 per square.
Obviously, air conditioning and furnaces were not really a thing back then, so that's a little trickier.
Yeah, we're trying to hide as much as we can when we're doing additional add-ons that would not have been there in the 1800s.
Trying to do it in a way that just doesn't change the house, make as little change as possible.
So the interior, walk us through what we could expect to see if we walk through the house when it's done.
So there's maybe a 1 foot by 1 foot piece of original wallpaper that is on the wall that we will leave. Obviously, we'll leave that. The wood floors that are in it, we will carefully restore those. We won't be putting in new materials unless absolutely needed. We're preserving as much of the plaster in the home as possible. Prior to us, there was some drywall put in those areas. We will skim coat over that with a plaster product. So we're trying to keep it as original as possible. We will not be replacing windows. We'll be restoring the windows. There's one that's got some rot to it, so we'll have that one rebuilt, repaired. So that gives you an idea. So there'll be a wood floor throughout most of the house. As far as the colors go, we'll be doing some research to see what colors were being used either in that home specifically or in that time frame of it. I believe the home was built in 1841. Wyatt Earp was born in 1848. So we'll be doing a lot of research into that time frame as we make decisions if we cannot find the exact colors documented where, somewhere that it was that.
And a lot of times with these historical homes, you don't necessarily see it as an Airbnb or somewhere you can stay yourself. How is that gonna work? What really kind of inspired that?
So for decades, there was a lot of time and energy that went into asking for volunteer help, volunteer funds, and with that comes a lot of frustration. And when we took this project on, it actually started from driving by it and realizing that this house was going to fall apart or get tore down. It was in really bad shape. The roof had actually caved in on the back porch, and it just...
Raccoons had moved in.
Yeah, you just realized it needed some love. And Jenny and I both have grown up here in Monmouth, and as I drove by, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, somebody needs to do something with that house. And it was maybe 3 or 4 blocks later that I thought that somebody could be us. And so I checked at the courthouse to see where the tax bills were being mailed and mailed a letter to see if there'd be any interest in letting somebody else take that project on. So that's kind of where it started. And from there, how it turned into an Airbnb was a lot of brainstorming. How can we, would a museum support the renovation cost needed here? And the answer was no. We were thinking, how can we not ask for a lot of money and a lot of help, invest, so we're loaning the nonprofit entity the money to do this, and our hope is that we can get that money back out. And we believe through the Airbnb, that's the way to do it. So we're able to preserve it. We're able to bring in revenue that can support it. And our hope is long term, if this goes as planned in 3 to 5 years, we have 2 empty lots next to it, that we would build an 1800s replica of a town like Tombstone. And in that town would have a saloon, a jail, a cafe. I mean, it would have the things that were back in the 1800s in that town with like wooden boardwalks and a dirt road down the middle. And that would become the Airbnb, and the house would be turned back into a museum. That's the long-term plan. Phase 1 will be renovate the Wyatt Earp Birthplace, Airbnb it for 3 to 5 years. And if it goes as planned, we would start investing more money in a replica of an 1800s town.
We're talking with Jason Robbins and Jenny Robbins about the Wyatt Earp Birthplace and the renovations going into that. You've got social media around this, correct? Where can we check out what's going on?
Yeah, thank you. So Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all of those you can follow us on. If you're not familiar with Airbnb, I'm sure somebody in your family or circle of influence would be able to help you with that. But on Airbnb, you could look up Wyatt Earp Birthplace, or you could type in the address 406 South 3rd Street, Monmouth, Illinois, and pull it up there. And there's a calendar in Airbnb that you could go to and look at what's available and actually book your stay. Monmouth, Illinois is a cool town if you've never been here and you're just coming to see the Wyatt Earp Birthplace. So we're a town of just under 10,000 people with a great small town feel. You would love it here.
And where can we find those social medias? Do you have those set up yet? Or the usernames yet?
Yeah, you would have to look for Wyatt Earp Birthplace underneath those, and each one of those, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. But yes, those are set up, and we're going to be showing videos. As we do the renovation, we'll have small clips, and you'll be able to follow us along in the process.
Perfect. Is there anything else you want to add today?
I don't think so. Thanks for having us. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to let people know what's going on.
Of course. Thanks so much for taking the time to come in and tell us what's going on. That is Jason Robbins and Jenny Robbins, renovating and getting the Wyatt Earp Birthplace ready for Airbnb, telling us all about that progress on AM 1330 FM 95.7 WRAM.